Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor wearing a Dan Flash's original. Today I'm going to be reviewing Japanese Breakfast in concert. So it's my first concert since COVID, and I took my family, I took my wife and my daughter, and I want to talk about the concert and why it was good and why you should see Japanese Breakfast, spoiler, but also just a little bit about how great it is to go back to a concert, just kind of sharing this joy, which due to the Delta variant may be a very short-lived joy, but just kind of an appreciation of life thing, the shortness of life and the need to appreciate things while we're here. So first of all, why did I even buy these tickets to see Japanese Breakfast? When I reviewed this album back here, Jubilee, I liked it. I didn't think it was the greatest thing I'd heard all year. I didn't love it. But then when I saw that they, and she more specifically, was coming to Rochester, the town where I live, when you live in a minor league city like Rochester and a major league artist comes by, you feel a compulsion to go. You have to support the arts whenever you can. And so I was like, I'm just going to get tickets, My wife heard the album and she liked it. My daughter said, not bad. Which for a 13-year-old girl, hearing music that her father likes means she probably likes it quite a bit. It was $30 a ticket. I just figured, all right, great. I went on sort of a ticket buying spree after COVID. We're seeing Billie Eilish, obviously, My Chemical Romance, Brian Wilson, and oddly enough, I bought tickets to see the Trailer Park Boys, which I don't think that's going to be very good. But leading up to the show, which was yesterday, December 3rd, at Anthology in Rochester, we had this terrible day. So the night before, all the way throughout COVID, my wife and I have suffered from weird bouts of insomnia. And our dog, Bo, has had a lot of health problems lately. He had half of his tail cut off. And he was just throwing up everywhere, everywhere in the house. All over the couch, in multiple different rooms. And we realized that it's because he keeps eating all of our plants. Now, my wife loves plants. That's why there's plants in my videos everywhere. And he kept eating her favorite split-leaf philodendron that had these little holes in the leaves, which make them good, venticulars. I don't know what they're called. But the point is, Bo keeps eating her favorite plants and keeps puking. So he was up in our bedroom. And the thing about Bo is he's a great boy. He's a stinky good boy, but he just licks all day, all night. These really loud licks, and he was just digging in his bed and walking around the room. So he was keeping us up, and we woke up and we're just really tired, and then the day kind of sucked. We had to go to Home Depot because we're redoing the bathroom on the first floor, and we bought the wrong kind of P-trap. And if you ever had to buy a P-trap, you don't want to have to buy 2 P-traps. My daughter gets home from rowing, where she's been rowing for 3 hours on the Erie Canal, and she's all tired, and the weekend she was at a summer camp, and none of us were feeling it. None of us were let's go to a show. Let's go stand and be in some hot place watching an artist that we like, right? I mean, the good news is we've been listening to the album for the last couple weeks a little bit more, putting it on the hi-fi back there, liking it more and more. In particular, my wife is loving the song Be Sweet, and I think Savage Good Boy might be the best song of the entire year of anybody, right? So there we go. We're there, and we decide we're just going to do it. We're not going to cancel. We could have got free refunds because they require COVID testing now. That was after they sold the tickets. So we easily could have exchanged it, but we decided to persevere, We go to this okay Italian restaurant in the neighborhood. My daughter loves their gnocchi. We had that exciting feeling, And I just want to talk about this, and you can share this in the comments if you want. Do you have a pre-show ritual? Is there a specific restaurant or specific place you like to go? It was just really fun. Whenever we go to this place, we're always going to go to this overpriced, okay Italian restaurant. And we're sitting there and we're feeling good. And then we go to the show. We go to the show at the venue, which is called Anthology. And I was weirded out because I know that Michelle Zonet, or Zoner, I don't know how you pronounce her last name, I know that she's a big figure, but especially amongst NPR music fans, because she wrote a book and she's multicultural and she has all the hallmarks of an NPR musician. So I was a little bit afraid that I was going to go there and be amongst other 40-year-olds with NPR tote bags talking about how wonderful new kids' music are. But amazingly, basically most of the people there were really young, and they were very goth, which I didn't expect. A lot of dyed hair and fishnets and chokers and tattoos. Some of the tattoos were were regrettable, but some of them were quite nice and quite funny, you know? So it's kind of cool to have an unexpectedly edgy show, you know? I think my daughter was the only one there under the age of 16, and I was like one of 10 people over the age of 40. Now, because of that situation, that allowed me to be very comfortable just plopping right down in one of the seats they had near the bar. I didn't get anything to drink, obviously. Well, not obviously, but I don't like drinking much. And we just sit down there. You know, I'm the old guy, and she's the young kid, so we get to sit here. We're just relaxing, really tired, trying not to yawn. And then we get the excitement of the merch table. Oh, there I am, by the way. That's how I rock out. I got the big earphones because I got to protect my old man ears. Got the face mask, and I'm drinking a Poland Spring. Heavy metal all day, every day. Then we get the excitement of the merch table. And this was really fun because this was my daughter's first real show in a club, you know, like in a smaller venue. And I think she was a little bit taken aback by the immediateness of it, you know, because she's used to seeing, you know, Panic at the Disco or 21 Pilots, where you have merch tables at all, you know, hot dog stand, merch table, hot dog stand, merch table. And she got to see that. I got to sort of see that through her eyes. You know, like when you're a parent, everyone says like, oh, the best thing is going to Disney World with your kids because you get to see it through their eyes. But it doesn't stop there, adults. It also gets to go the first time you go to a cool show of a cool band in a cool club and getting to see that. So we had a little bit of a debate. You know, my daughter really liked the food truck picture, which you see over, you know, on this side, and then my wife and I really liked the Savage Good Boy image T-shirt. But ultimately, it's going to be up to her. So she bought the food truck, obviously, because it has a cute dog on it. I eventually realized I had to get the Japanese breakfast chopsticks. We eat a lot of rice in this house. One of the few things I make that's tasty is a rice bowl. So these are going to be the coveted chopsticks, which the kids are going to fight over. And then I bought her book, which I have not yet read. I'm a sucker, so I mainly bought it because it's signed. It could be a holdover from when I used to collect baseball cards as a kid, but I bought it signed. You see, I put the tickets in the back there, so they'll always be there. And once I had the book, I had to have something to carry it in, so I bought the tote bag, which you see back there. Very kind of funny and interesting. Briefly, because I didn't read this before I reviewed Jubilee, while I was waiting, and in the day since I went to the concert, I've read almost half of this book now. And if you haven't read it, it's very good. If you're like me and you're a little bit afraid of tales of grief, you might worry that it's too heavy. Her writing is much like her music. It's substantive, but there is a lightness to it, which makes the topic of watching her mother die a slow death not particularly painful. Mixed in with it is an attention to detail about describing her life. You learn a lot about how she came to music, the sort of self-deprecating way that she presents her odyssey towards becoming a great musician, and also just about her sort of multiple culture, the situation that she's in of being having a Korean mom and an American dad, and just that the conflicts that come from there. And she spends a lot of attention like describing how she makes kimchi. And what's great is, it's not, you know, she doesn't hit you over the head with the meaning of it. But I will say, as someone who, I actually do teach French, and I work a lot with, you know, immigrants and children of immigrants, the last thing that goes when people immigrate is food. Usually language goes first, sadly, other cultural customs, but food is the last thing. And that's what you see right here. So there we are, you know, there we got hardcore Professor Sky sitting there with his big headphones, drinking his Poland Spring, and I got my book, and I'm sitting there, and I'm reading these interesting pages and ways that she's able to write about her life, and then the opening act comes on. The band, which I did not review, which I now regret not reviewing, Mannequin Pussy. Very rocking band. The kind of punk music that I enjoy, which is not purely punk, but also sometimes is purely punk. Just a great opening band that doesn't take away from the main act, but builds to it. My daughter was completely enamored with them. Unfortunately, she wanted a t-shirt, but at the school she goes to, there's a thing called getting dress coded. And there's no way for her to wear a Mannequin Pussy t-shirt and not get dress coded. So I'm sorry, Mannequin Pussy, your name deprived you of the $30. Side note, is Mannequin Pussy the best name of a rock and roll band right now? It might be. For like a female punk band, a female-led punk band, Mannequin Pussy. Wow, that's a good name. It has that punch, that power, the simplicity. You hear it and you know what it means, and you also don't quite know what it means all at the same time. It's just great. And so they were wonderful. I really enjoyed their drummer and their bassist. Like, they're all kind of goofy. You know, like the lead guitarist is kind of a goofy looking dude, and the bassist has this dreadlock dude, just kind of goofy, and even the lead singer, everyone just has this kind of like lightness to them, mixed in with some preachiness about, you know, human rights, but that's fine, I'll take it. And just really good, strong, loud punk. I needed my headphones on, and that's what led into the next act, right, which would be Japanese Breakfast. But in between, I went with my daughter, and she's like, I don't want to sit down anymore. I want to see the show. I want to get closer up. And so we start walking, and like she's, you know, honestly, she's terrified, right? I mean, she's the only teenager in the entire place, right? And she's like, okay, so we'll just stand here. I'm like, well, we can go closer. No, Dad, we can't go closer. There's people there. It's like, oh, you have to learn. How close you are to the stage depends entirely on your attitude. You can easily be an angry little pepper shaker and make your way up to the front if you want. And when my daughter heard that, it was like this went over her like, really? And so I kind of created a monster because she kept on wanting to go closer and closer. I finally had to stop. About this far away from the stage because I don't like being that close and that packed in. But it was really funny seeing that moment where she got to understand that, like, wow, maybe this is better than being in a hockey stadium. It was really cool because she started off so timid, and then she was an angry little pepper shaker. The show starts, okay? So I like Jubilee a lot. There are songs on Jubilee that I think are great, right? I already said Savage Good Boy may be the best song of the entire year, right? I had no idea that they would be this good in concert. I was completely blown away. And I don't say that very often, right? I mean, I've seen a lot of great shows, but I'm rarely blown away. Even great shows, I'm sort of expecting it to happen, and then it's great. But they come out, and they open up with the opening track, Paprika, which as far as I can tell, they always open with. The band sounds great, but the main thing is, she is an absolute star. Just totally charismatic, totally endearing, smiling, happy. The band likes to play with her. She likes to play with the band. She has this earnestness to her. She comes out and she has just a gong, a stick to play the gong. And she hits the gong during the chorus, 4 times. And she has this weird, cool, like, geometrical, oversized dress. And she's dancing around and she's smiling all the time and doing, like, kind of, like, goofy, like, happy dancing. And she got the braids going. The braids are going back and forth. And the hands are going back and forth. And she's hitting the gong. And it's just an amazingly delightful performance that just makes you feel, like, joy. Like, really, really, really joyful. And it's hard to feel that kind of joy, especially like when you're in a concert, it's hot, and you all have to wear masks because Delta variant, and you're sitting there, and just this real earnestness and charisma. And then, the microphone move. I hate to spoil this for you, but I'm trying to convince you to go see Japanese Breakfast in concert. So if I've already convinced you, turn off the video now so I don't ruin the microphone move. If you know anything about her music, there are points in almost all of her songs where she'll just yell. Except she does it on key. She'll just yell. And on the studio album, she's like, that's fine, that's cool. But when she performs, she takes her mic from like this. She'll be, how does it feel to be in the middle of magic? Da-da-da-da. Na-na-na-na-na-na. She puts the microphone as far away from her face as she possibly can in some kind of weird trombone move. And she just belts out. And I was telling the kids, like, Jimi Hendrix playing guitar behind his back is cool. But this is astounding. It comes through perfectly. Her voice projects perfectly with all the band behind her, with all the ambient noise. She somehow has the microphone 4.5 feet away from her, and she is yelling as loud as she possibly can. And she has to hold it far away from her, because if it was any closer, she'd blow out the mic, blow out the stands. Like, her voice has so much power that it would destroy the whole world. But that's the feeling that you get, that she's able to communicate with this move. It is something that is so intoxicating to see that every time it happened, I was like, ah, God, she's doing that. And when I knew it was coming up in a song, I'd be like, she's going to do the trombone, she's going to do the trombone, and then, and she did the trombone. It is such a great moment. And it's really, really, really worth seeing. What's cool is she often would pair a song from the album with the next song. So Be Sweet is the next song on the album. That's what she did. Just really on key. The crowd got a little bit up. Moves on to a song called In Heaven. That's where she starts playing guitar. So she has like 3 modes. She has like what I call pop star mode, where she's just her and the microphone. And then guitar mode. The guitar mode's great because you can see her more clearly. You know, she's staying still. On the song Kokomo, which was next, Kokomo, Indiana, it's kind of breezy like the album, and acoustic guitar. And then we get to the 3rd mode for the song Tactics, where she's at the piano. So she does everything. And the whole time, you know, like, bringing my daughter to this, who is a musician, it made me really happy. Because between Mannequin Pussy and Japanese Breakfast, there's this model of being a female musician in which it's not about alterity, it's not about being othered, it's not about this fight. It is just a natural, beautiful expression that makes you believe that equality is possible. And I know that sounds like a huge statement, right? And we're nowhere near equality, and I'm not saying that we are. But I could just tell that, you know, this was different than like my daughter seeing, I don't know, Billie Eilish or someone who you want to emulate, but you could never possibly be like. You know, like both these figures, the leader of Mannequin Pussy and leader of Japanese Breakfast, had this feeling of just like people who work hard, express themselves well, and just, it was just great. There's a couple songs I didn't know too well in the middle because I only really know Jubilee. I was able to appreciate. Another great thing about going to a show in a club is the drunk people you have to deal with. There were these like 4 insanely drunk, I assume college girls, who were just like, college women I suppose, who were just like doing this dance, like, I almost knocked over my computer, doing this dance like the whole time and like making so much space around them that we were never actually impinged on. We're going to come back to them soon. They had a cool part where they had like they have these utility players, like people who do multiple things, and they're 2 women and they're on either side of the stage. And they'll go between, like, one plays violin and the other one, like, sometimes plays percussion, sometimes plays keyboard. They kind of do a bunch of stuff. And so the whole, like, stage is this cool sort of geometry of, like, a man playing bass and then utility woman, and then a man is the drummer, and then the front person, you know, Japanese Breakfast, and then a man playing guitar, and then a woman on utility. This kind of, like, cool, like, wall of people, and it's all just so mixed and just seems so natural. I was very excited to hear Savage Good Boy. Unfortunately, it's my favorite song on the album, but it wasn't my favorite song of the show. It actually doesn't transmit that well because it's her playing guitar. And just whenever I watch her perform, I just want to see pop star Japanese Breakfast so I can see the trombone, because that's just what I'm there for, right? The cool thing here is that the bass really comes to the front. I didn't notice that listening to the album version of the song. I didn't pay attention. The bass doesn't do anything for the beginning. And so he's just sitting there making very serious bass face, waiting to go, and then he starts playing. And by the way, that's the best bass on the whole album, is on that song. It is really great. And what's very nice on that part was there's a little double guitar solo that's on the album. And so it's her and the handsome guitar dude, I don't know who it is, and they're like playing together. And it's just really just excellent. I believe the bass player is the only person in the band who does one thing. Most people do multiple things. The drummer even sings at some point. You know, the utility player's doing everything. The guitar player's doing all sorts of stuff. But yeah, the bass player just plays bass. And then it's followed up with In Hell, which again is like the album order, and it's nice that my favorite songs, those are my 4 favorite songs on the album, the first 2 and then these 2, to have them together. And this is very funny because this is a song that's about her dog dying, but it's really a meditation on her mother dying, right? And just as a weird side note, you know, like it's between this book and then the Kanye album coming out, and then, you know, I released an album that I recorded 20 years ago about my own mother. I'm telling you, mothers are a really big deal right now in popular culture, and especially like mourning mothers. That's a weird thing that's happening here. So this song that's about like dogs dying and about moms dying, the drunk college women in front of me were just, I think they were just full on twerking. And so it's like, okay, maybe they're just here for a party. Maybe they're not here for a show. Great violin by one of the utility players. Then Posing in Bondage was maybe the highlight of the whole show. Just so good. Just the power of the voice coming on. They had this great strobe effect. It just makes me love the album even more. Oh, there she is playing guitar. Here's my daughter's attempt to record this. Gives you an indication of what it looks like. I don't know if I'm gonna get a copyright strike on here. You know, and then this guy right here is jumping up and down the whole time. And all the way the flashes go through, and it's just a really super exciting moment all the way through. And then we had a crisis. My daughter was too hot. She drank all the water that we brought. We had some Sprite, it was nice. So we had to move outside. And this is just one of the funny things about concerts. We had to go outside to get air because of the masks. But in order to go outside, that means you have to be around the smokers. So there's no choice anymore when you're at a club between just being able to breathe. You either have to be with the smokers or wear a mask in a really hot space. I don't know. Kind of funny. Missed kind of a few songs in there, making sure my daughter was okay. It's cool guest saxophone player on slide tackle. It was nice hearing the drummer sing. And then for the song Everybody Wants to Love You, every once in a while you'll see people refer to Japanese Breakfast as shoegaze. And maybe that's true for the earlier stuff, but it does not feel like shoegaze. Like everyone is rocking. The whole place is rocking. Like you couldn't look at your shoes. You had to have your head up and you had to be dancing. The final song before the encore was Posing for Cars. And this is where, did COVID fix a problem? This was the only time that I noticed multiple cameras up at once. Multiple cell phones up at once. That used to be the biggest scourge, in my opinion, of all concert going, which is the amount of screen, the amount of iPhones I had to look at while trying to watch a concert. It was just this one last song. So I think it's good. I think we're getting better, like as a society. Maybe we're not going to ruin every concert with iPhones. Kind of a downbeat pre-encore song. I tried to get a chant going of brekkie, brekkie, which I thought would be funny, but we settled on just one more song. And then it ends with Diving Girls and just a beautiful guitar solo at the end. And I liked this as the encore because with the ending of Posing for Cars, it meant that the pre-encore started and ended with the first and last track off of the album. It feels very intentional. And then this was just kind of a nice extended song where they jam more, a little bit more spacey, maybe even a little bit more shoegazy. But it was just a very nice kind of dancing, droney song. My wife took a little bit of video clips of this because she knew I would want to show it. So here we go. Here's a little bit of the encore so you can see them perform. Not the best way to watch them. All right, you know what? I'm not going to do that anymore. I appreciate that she recorded it, but you just have to go see it. This is the beginning of their tour. They're playing in like Cleveland, and they're playing in Boston. They're playing in Philadelphia a bunch of times because that's where they're based, I guess. They're playing all over. They're playing in Europe. It was an amazing concert. When my wife left, my wife, who got a lot less sleep than I did, who, let's be honest, she's the one who's redoing the first floor bathroom. I can't do anything with a hammer. So she's like redone the whole thing, like scraped everything off, did the drywall, did the painting, did the electrical, did the plumbing. She's the one who's really disappointed about the P-trap, you know? She comes out and she just goes, that's one of the best concerts I've ever seen. And definitely the best concert I've seen since I was in my 20s. And that's kind of a nice reminder, something I want to say. 80% of my audience is under the age of 34. That makes sense? Hi, how's it going? For those of you who are under 34, awesome, keep going to concerts. But for those of you who are over, just go anyway. It doesn't matter if you're the old guy at the club. You can still enjoy it and the artists appreciate it. I'd like to close with one theoretical question. Okay, first of all, I would love to show you the t-shirt that my daughter got, but it's the day after the concert. So of course she's wearing the t-shirt. That's the first question. Put your answer in the comments. Is it okay to wear a t-shirt of the concert the day after the concert? Or do you have to wait longer? The other question is it okay to listen to the band while you're leaving and driving home from the concert? Is that okay? I've always said no. My wife really enjoys it, so I don't make a big stink about it anymore. But I'm curious if you have a policy on that. Okay. Well, until next time, enjoy concerts, and there's the camera.